Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Line Change, the NHL betting podcast from the Action Network. My name is Michael Leboff, and joining me, as always, are my co-hosts Tim Kalinowski and Nick Martin. Together, the three of us are going to break down the upcoming four playoff games on Friday and Saturday. We got a game two, we got two game threes, we got a game four. We'll talk about all of them, but we'll start with the Panthers and Bruins in Boston on Friday night at the Garden. The Cats are minus 125 on the road. Bruins plus 105. Total here's 5.5. Series knotted up at 1. Even though Boston has home ice in the series now, the series line is minus 188 for the Panthers and plus 155 for the Bruins. We all kind of thought the Bruins were a little undervalued, underrated, disrespected, however you wanted to look by the betting market for game one and to a lesser extent game two. But Nick, it looks like it's both of you guys are thinking about going back to the Panthers after that performance in Sunrise on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it felt to me like you could see that a big element of game one was in the end that the Panthers were a little rusty. They didn't manage the puck overly well. Some of their D-men that typically are pretty strong weren't very great. So I think that there's a good chance they'll follow it up with a really good performance here. I've loved what I've seen from them the entire postseason. Um, and then, yeah, a big part of the handicap is that I think the home ice is completely overvalued here. If you look at the last game, the Panthers closed at minus 170. Now they're minus 125 because the series moves to Boston. And this has kind of been something we've pointed out all playoff long, that a lot of the location changes have been overvalued. And I think that holds especially true here. You could say Boston played better last series in Toronto throughout the entirety of the series. And in this exact series last playoffs, home ice didn't hold any relevancy at all. So I think that it doesn't really make sense how much like that's been weighing into it. So that's kind of the main thing for me here. I like the Panthers' chances, and it feels like this is just an over adjustment as we move to Boston.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Nick. You nailed it. It's funny. I was giving you a hard time today on Green Dot Daily. I feel like I was talking everybody off a ledge a bit after game one of that Bruins Panthers series of just like, hey, keep it a home perspective here. We knew the trends, what they were for the short rest teams versus the long rest teams, and you saw a Panthers team that honestly, it's just a lot for the Bruins to handle. And especially when you just look at firepower. I mean, if the Bruins need one, I don't know, other than Pastrnak, it's not many names on the list to turn to. The Panthers, again, they just beat you in a multitude of different ways. Even the Bruins back end. I mean, Charlie McAvoy, look, I gave Ekblad a really hard time after game one. Charlie McAvoy deserves the same credit after game two. The Panthers are better on pretty much every front. Goaltending was the edge. I don't think it was entirely Swayman's fault, but the way that the Panthers play, I just see so many edges in the Panthers' favor. And I think still it's like almost a near reaction from what the Bruins were able to, the final score in game one. Like, I still think this should be longer in the Panthers' favor. Like, essentially, the Bruins, for them to win, a lot has to go right. And for the Panthers, I just think it's they're extremely durable in the outcomes they can have. So to me, it's short on the Cats here.
Okay. Yeah. I think I lean that way. I don't think this is a bad look for overtime either. I think that these two teams now, as we're getting into like the nitty gritty, the chicanery could subside a bit here. So a little tighter played in Boston, but yeah, Panthers will make it 3 for 3 on the Cats. The late night tip on Friday is Edmonton and Vancouver. The Oilers are minus 125, Canucks plus 105. This game is in Vancouver. So another home underdog spot for us on Friday night, and for the Canucks, the second straight game there, an underdog at home. The total is 6.5 here. Leon Draisaitl's status obviously looms large in this situation. I still think the Oilers are worth a bet, though. We've seen such a strong defensive showing from the Canucks, not just in game one against the Oilers, although that might be the peak of them all, but against the Predators too. But I just have such a hard time envisioning this team being able to keep the Oilers at bay. So much credit was given to the Oilers power play in round one. Deserve it. It's a lot of talk about special teams this postseason and for the Oilers. But if you look at their 5-on-5 numbers during the regular season, they generated more scoring chances than anybody at 5-on-5. So I do think that they'll start to get theirs. And I like the price here at -125 on the road, Nick.
Yeah, I think I have to go back to the Canucks as well. As annoying as that
The
loss
Oilers.
was.
The
Oilers.
Or sorry,
The
the
Oilers.
Oilers, whichever, everyone knows what I mean. Yeah, because we all had the ridiculous loss on that game. But
And I had 2 chances giving it my best bet, basically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one to handicap because I think a lot of what went wrong for the Oilers has to be scary moving forward, which is why I'm not like full of conviction that the Oilers will bounce back, because that second pairing is just a complete train wreck, and it has been. Really, it was versus the Kings. They just got by elsewhere. And Skinner, he did exactly this versus the Kings. It didn't cost them game one in the end. But he did regroup after a pretty bad start to the series, so that maybe gives you a little bit of conviction that he can do it again. But that is pretty scary. So I lean with the Oilers. I'm not pumped about it. Like, I'm not running with conviction here. And the other thing that is interesting is Draisaitl's obviously pretty hurt. I don't think anyone bought the cramp thing the night they said it. Really, I didn't. It seemed really weird. And then whether it actually is what happened or not seems even more unlikely now that he missed practice today. I think it's pretty likely that he's hurt and they're doing what teams do and trying to avoid letting him get targeted and so on, which who knows if it, ultimately helps anything. But I just, he's so important to them. And if we're going to get lesser play from him, who knows? The one thing that I think has to work in the Oilers' favor, though, they did get the power play goal. Was that their only power play in the game, though, in the end? Like, that's not happening again.
Yeah, 1 for 1.
They're drawing
first
a couple
minute
more
of the
calls.
game.
Yeah, so that also would obviously work in their favor, because I think it's next to impossible not to take more than one penalty. One bench minor out of the whole game is insane. So that would also help the Oilers. So yeah, I think you have to go back to the Oilers here. I still think it's a little short. But I'm not like, I can see the arguments. I'm not like thrilled to go back to it.
Yeah, one thing that I've had trouble handicapping that I've tried to talk out loud in the last couple of days are these power play numbers. And you said it, like power play success has been pretty indicative of game success, series success, playoff success. But the handicapping part is hard. Is like, how do you know they're going to get power plays? And how do you, and then on top of that, handicap like in series adjustments? I mean, Carolina as bettors were taught, hey, statistically, teams should regress to some sort of a mean. And Carolina, like, they can't find their way on the power play. So that, that's not finding its level within series. I think the one thing that I was right about in game one is that the Canucks can run with the Oilers, and they should try and run with the Oilers, because the Oilers expose themselves on the back end when they do play their kind of run and gun style. And like, the Canucks are deep enough to do it. They have the skaters, they have the legs, they have the skill to do it. And Seelovs and Skinner, the way the Skinner played game one is almost like net even. And I think a lot of people are missing how deep the Canucks are. I look at when the Canucks scored that go-ahead goal with what it was 4 or 5 minutes left, whatever it was, and they really start doing the thing where they got to stack one line, and you start saying to yourself, well, who's the group that comes out after? And it's like, well, you got to hope Evander Kane does his thing. You got to hope Nugent Hopkins does his thing. I think we or all of us, or at least the narrative, is undervaluing Vancouver's ability here. So I'm not going to go back to the well with Edmonton. I feel like I learned my lesson. As much as it was a 3-0 lead, Vancouver was still able to do what they did. So I'm going to go over 6 here. As the time of recording, there's 6s out there. If you can get over 6, I certainly like it. Again, Vancouver has figured out in real time they can run with them, and they should run with them.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about how we thought there'd be more goals. I thought that last series, like, I agree with the overlook, I should say. Last series, I really think was just what the Preds were when they match up against the Canucks. And this just comes down to the Oilers. It's also why I'm going to continue to like overs in the Stars game because I think the Stars were trending low just because of who the Knights are.
Yeah, I
And
learned that
now it's the
lesson
same.
tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you could have won it, whatever. But and the other thing that I think is interesting, it's been a really prominent storyline. It's why a lot of people were wrong at the start of the Canes thing, and we talked about it, is predicting who is going to win the special teams battle in the playoffs comes down to more than who just had the better results in the regular season. And sometimes that's what's tough to handicap. Like, I think it's been pretty clear in the Rangers series that Carolina's power play is not really pushing to find anything here. They were really good in the regular season. So that's where I think a lot of people were pushing back, saying, like, this is an edge that they could have, not to get too far away from the Oilers here. But that's the thing. You can't always predict the way it's going to go, but I think you can see it. And this series, we don't really know, but I feel pretty confident no one's really shutting down the Oilers' power play. Um, so we'll see how it goes. But I like in the Kane series, you can just see they're not whatever you want to say. I feel like they're getting no
Let's
good
get there.
chances on the
Let's
power
get to the
play.
Kane series.
Yeah. Let's
The
No,
yeah. Rangers are plus 134. Canes minus 162. Total here is 5.5. Uh, so not as big an adjustment as I thought we were gonna see. From they're gonna raise the white flag tax that bookmakers sometimes put on teams down 0-3. The number on the Rangers was like plus 140 by puck drop for game 3, so really not too much. I like the Rangers again. I don't think that this line should be this high. What have we kind of talked about it before game 3? Like, what has this series shown us that has told us Carolina should be this big a favorite on home ice? The goaltending is just an absolute I mean, it's not like the Hurricanes have been abject in goal, but that just being good has not been enough for them. Igor is on fire. The special teams, as Nick alluded to, is a just absolute disaster. What is it now? Total of special teams are getting outscored 6-0 with the shorty for the Rangers tonight. So and 0 for 15 on the power play. This it all looks like a mess. And honestly, like you could watch that game and you can say, oh, they got out, they outshot the Rangers basically 2-1. And I would say, yeah, and we expected them to do that, and they still can't win. Like that's just not it. So many of these shots are just designed to get face-offs and whatever too. It's not like these are a ton of dangerous shots. I didn't think Carolina played a like a bad team game, but they made too many mistakes against the Rangers, and they're just not clearly not good enough to be able to answer all the to answer the Rangers with how opportunistic New York is. So I think plus 134 on the Rangers is fine here, Nick.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the Rangers are pretty comfortable with what's going on. Like Carolina's worked as hard as they possibly can. They've, owned as much of the play as they typically do, but they're not getting that many more of the quality looks. I mean, yeah, if you traded the goalies, the scores would be different. But the Rangers are giving them stuff that they're pretty comfortable with mainly, and they're doing a good job getting really good chances going the other way. Like even in tonight's game, there's still a couple missed Rangers breakaways and so on. I think that Carolina's decor and some of the players have done a really bad job moving the puck. Like you can just see that we were texting about that overtime shift because it was pathetic. There was 3 or 4 plays that should have been made, like simple plays on the wall. And there's been so many, like, yeah, they've had the puck more overall, but there's also been so many times where they get into a bad sequence and it's just flicking it out to nobody, regrouping onto nothing. Like I feel like the Rangers are kind of right in their wheelhouse. It doesn't really seem like there. I'll be probably say more than anyone. There's a lot of series where like a team can lose, and it truly was just like an unlucky result that swung on like a couple of bad breaks. I don't know if I fully feel that in this series. Like,
No,
yeah, the games have been really close, but it feels like the Rangers are just right in their wheelhouse every game. So I'm not betting into the Carolina tax here. Maybe it goes better, but I don't know.
in,
I
in a
couldn't see how you'd lay this.
in a weird way, it looks like the Rangers have just kind of not. Um, it's like it's the same version of the team that played the Capitals. Like there's just they feel no threat right now. So you're right. It looks so comfortable for them, and I think that's part of why everyone's like, "Holy crap, this team's gonna win the Stanley Cup," because they just look completely unfussed about anything. Like it's crazy. Pretty disappointing stuff from the Canes, Tim.
Yeah, it is. And that comfort is really just, to me, it's confidence in one, their goalie, and it's saying, we don't care if you have 50 shots on this guy from 40 feet out, like that he can see, and he's at the top of his crease. Like it screams a very confident hockey team, and it's like, we'll let you guys lose all your energy circling the offensive zone, getting shots again from long distance, and then we'll just go kill you on the transition and somehow make it a 2-on-1 and eventually a 1-on-0. And I think the Rangers get a lot of credit for, like, a lot of us, all of us have poked holes in, their formula, but they have, at least they have an identity, and they're owning the identity and playing to the identity. And that identity has been a pretty perfect match for a Canes team that's, again, like a volume shooting team that has some shaky goaltending, and New York is making them pay for it. So look, hand in the air, full credit to what the Rangers are doing. With that said, in terms of the handicap on the game, I don't see how you could bet the Canes at the money line price here. So I'm just going to go over again here. I think all three games have gone over here. I think this opens the door again for an opportunistic Rangers team, and also two early goalie pull, all that sort of nonsense. So with the 5.5, I think it over here. And Shesterkin saves while we're at it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you gotta everyone's gonna be looking at Shesterkin saves. We'll see how much they raise it. I mean, chances are it won't be enough. Like, I would play to 31.5, I think, is the cutoff. Tonight did have, and I have the game on in the background. Should have turned it off, but I have the rerun on right now. There was so many dump-ins on goal, even by Carolina standards, and not even just point shots. Like, there was like an abnormal amount of like dumps from the red line on net. Like, I think it was honestly probably 8 of the shots, and chances are you won't see that many again. So keep that in mind. It won't be as easy as it looks. I'm not saying I'm not going to play it, but I just, like, I don't think that it's just something that works to the point of, you can't take a crazy high number. Like, I wouldn't take like 34.5 thinking it's going to be a cakewalk because the last 2 games. But I mean, that is going to be Carolina's avenue. Like, the Rangers are going to keep doing what they're doing. And that's the other thing. You look at like the true grade A chances of the games, they have been pretty even.
Yeah.
Like, Carolina can do all they want. It's been a good example of what we say with, like, it comes down to a lot more than just working as hard as you possibly can. It's a big game of decision making, and the Rangers are really, it's a lot of, I don't want to say work smarter, not harder, but it is almost that.
Yeah, no, they pick their moments. I know, dude. They are as clinical as a team in the NHL. I think it's so funny. Like, the right before the Kreider goal, like, it was just, and I know that one came on the penalty kill, but the Canes were just owning that game, and then Rangers get 1-2-on-1, and there's not a person on the planet that didn't think that wasn't going to end up in the back of the net when you see what was going on. You're like, oh, this is so perfect. Like, Carolina's playing an A+ game to this point, and the Rangers just waiting for their first chance, and they're going to convert it. And
they're just laughing.
Yeah.
Take all your 16, 18 shots in like one sequence.
Yep.
And we're just going to wait for the one time we can chip it by you and go. And most teams are tired, or, dead tired, getting hemmed in their own end. But the Rangers, it's like the way they play defense, they don't exert a lot of energy, right? It's just kind of like, yep, we'll keep you to the outside. You'll get your looks. Our goalie will shut you down, and then we're going to go beat you in transition. Yeah. So I'm interested to see if someone can really punch back and make them kind of feel it more than Carolina has. But looks like we're going to have to wait another round for that.
Yeah. They're also a team that, like, it's so weird. Like, as soon as you see their opponent not, if you're playing the Rangers and you don't take your gimmies,
yep,
you're done. You're just, it's over. So,
yep.
Or if you give them a cheapie, we saw that in game 1. So that's the first game Saturday night. Rangers going for the sweep. Stars and Avalanche is 1-1. This one will be the nightcap Saturday night. Stars off of a 5-3 win in which they were up 4-0 and almost blew it again. Dallas is even money. Avalanche -120 at home, and the total here 6.5. I think this looks lined about right. I actually don't think I have anything here in terms of a play. What do you got, Nick?
I'm gonna lean with the over. I think I'll probably end up on some props as well. But yeah, I agree. I think the price looks right. I was really expecting to be betting Dallas in one of the two games in Colorado, but at the time of recording with them just only at even money, we'll see where it moves. But I don't have a play there. I thought we'd see a little better and a
Yeah.
lot of credit given to the Avs as it shifts to Colorado. So at plus 115, I'd get on the Stars, but if not, I'm just happy to watch this one and hope to get our Stars tickets moving in the right direction. This series looks like it's living up to the hype, though. This is the good one, I think.
Yeah.
Of all of them, it feels like this really is just a showdown of two true Stanley Cup level teams, and I think it's going to continue to be just up tempo and pretty good for playing props and overs and stuff because the Stars have so much offensive talent. Like they're not too concerned to sit back and just try to um, lock things down with Colorado. And Colorado just continues every playoff to just keep playing their game. They try to win with offense and not like they're horrible defensively, but I mean the Stars had a ton of looks tonight. I don't know how much it's going to change in the next game. I feel like it's just going to be a lot of kind of up tempo offensive play all series long. So should make for really good hockey and pretty good betting on the props, I think.
Yeah, this is West Coast offense. I mean, what a moron I am for trying to take an under in that game too. It felt like again, even at like 3-0, you're like, okay, let's lock it down. It's just crawl our way to the finish line here, and that's just not how. Especially with the Avalanche trailing, things are going to go. And because I lean with the Avalanche in this game, it makes you lean with the over as well. I just think this is short on the Avalanche. I think that again, the way that they want to, it's their style that is dictating the series, and I think it's been Dallas's ability to adapt to Colorado style and kind of make them pay for that kind of run and gun style. But to me, it's the Avalanche who are kind of dictating that. And again, this is still now going to altitude for a game 3. Been a lot of games for the Stars and a lot fewer for the Avalanche. So maybe that's a slight edge in the handicap, but I just feel like we're getting the Avalanche a little bit short here with what they're capable of doing. And again, when it comes down to, if the Avalanche can get a lead, the Stars still don't have a match for, the McKinnon, Makar, Rantanen. They need to get scoring throughout their whole lineup. And I can see that sort of being an issue. Just in terms of, again, who's your guy? DeBoer was, I feel like he called out Robertson, whoever it was, after game 1, but still, it's still, they need a little more team help than it is as easy for the Avalanche.
Yeah, and they did get, I mean, March went back and hopefully the more they can get Hawk and Paw and get some of these minutes away from that top pairing that's looked a little overused and played better tonight. We'll see. I love the makeup of both teams. I almost are people sleeping on the Stars? I don't know if I'd say people are sleeping on the Stars, but like if they win this series, they're going to be power ranked number 1, right? I'm pretty sure if you look at the odds, they'll tell you that right now, given that they're plus 470 as they're facing off against an Avs team. Like once whoever wins that series, I think that moves to being the favorite, which I think is correct. And the other
as long
thing,
as they stay healthy and don't kill each other.
Yeah, none of that, because I really hope whoever wins it, I think wins it all. But the other thing that I'll throw out there, Tim, and it's funny because me and you talked about this like 12 hours ago when we were on Green Dot, but Shesterkin is down to plus 550 now, so he's the full-on Conn Smythe favorite. Earlier in the day when we did this, McDavid was 850, Shesterkin was 950.
Feels
But
like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I still think that's a reasonable play, and I would 100%, if you do like the Rangers, play that, because that's got to be like the most, we say this a lot, but right now that is the most one-to-one. Like I can almost not see any world where they win without it being him. They have some players playing great, don't get me wrong. Fox is in the mix, Zibanejad, Panarin, but none of them are even close to Shesterkin. And we know if they get into a series with Florida, it's going to be another like 40 save night every win. So I think keep your eye on that one. But that's the other thing is, are the Rangers maybe now a little low in terms of the odds? Maybe a tear. I don't know. Because it's hard to say, but just they are going to have to go through Florida and like Colorado and Dallas or whoever. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I look at it as like a lot of this. If you don't have anything on a certain team and you're like, looking for it, then this is your avenue. And Rangers have so many guys playing well right now that it's almost like they're all canceling each other out. Like Lafreniere has like, I feel like 5 goals in the last 3 games or whatever. Like, so again, that's like another name you even mentioned. It's like they're all canceling each other out. It all leads to Shesterkin, who's, obviously getting some putting up some big numbers here. So if you're looking for it, if you're horny for it, I think that's your look.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think you need to say like it's just trying to get a piece. I think there's just value in it at plus 550. Like to me, it seems like more often than that number, we're gonna see these guys just ride him to the cup. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're
You're
telling
right,
me
yeah.
15% of the time that's like it seems a lot more common than that to me. I feel like it's more like I don't want to say 1 in 3, but it feels like that's a pretty good price to
I'm
take.
Brett.
It kind of reminds me, honestly, of when the Habs were on their run with Price, when Kreider had the original run in with Price that is a pretty big deal around here still. And it reminds me of that a lot.
I'm brainwashed
And
by the main guy here. I think it has to be 75-1. That's the problem,
Nah, not at this point. Not at this point. All right. That does it. We'll quickly go. If you had to pick a favorite bet for these Friday, Saturday games, Nick, you can go first.
okay, I'm just gonna go with the Panthers money line. Yeah, just looks too short to me. I feel, pretty strongly that they're the better team at this point, and that too much of this number just revolves around the game being in Boston.
I
I'll
will.
go. I'm
Oh,
going
my
next.
bad.
I'll go
Oh,
Rangers.
jeez. All right,
What about you?
You're on the Rangers.
Yeah, Rangers. Did I go
He's been
Rangers last
winning on the
time?
Rangers every night.
Yeah, it's just I mean, just keep betting the Rangers. This number makes no sense to me.
If the Rangers win the cup, but you can buy a yacht, is that
No,
good enough?
not even
No.
close.
Okay. I'll go Edmonton, Vancouver, over 6. Hopefully you hear this early enough. I think it looks like it's going to settle around there, but yeah, I like over 6 in that game.
All right. That does it for this episode. We'll be back recording Sunday night. But you can also catch us on YouTube for the weekend slate on our Power Plays presented by Bet365. For Nick and Tim, I'm Michael. Have a wonderful evening. We will see you again in a couple days.